For today's lab, you are going to need a lab apron, goggles, and gloves. Epsom salts can be a mild skin irritant, but if ingested, can cause severe diarrhea. When you first approach the bench, you should be able to find a crucible, your tongs, igniter, the ring stand set up with a crucible triangle on the top, and make sure that your Bunsen burner is connected to the gas line. You may notice when you first approach a lab that your crucible has some material inside of it. If that's the case, you need to empty that material out. Just simply grab a small utensil like a scoopula and scrape the inside out. Be careful not to scrape too hard. This is made out of ceramic and it can break. After you scrape out the crucible, you may notice some black material on the bottom of your crucible. This is perfectly normal and it should not interfere with your lab at all. The first thing you're going to want to do is to weigh your empty dry crucible. There are two different ways that you can hold the crucible tong. You can hold them tip up or tip down. If you're holding the crucible tip down with the crucible tongs, that will allow you to simply grab the crucible and carry it in such a fashion over to the digital scale. You're going to want to avoid touching the crucible with your hands as much as possible because your hands do contain some moisture. The other way to hold the crucible is with the tongs tip up. That will allow you to open the crucible tongs very wide, close around the crucible, and lift straight up. This will cradle the crucible gently so that you can carry it around if there's contents inside the crucible. So remember, avoid touching the crucible at all costs with your hands. All of your Epsom salts are located by the digital scale. At the digital scale, you should also be able to find a scoopula so that you can measure the mass of the empty dry crucible with no contents inside it. Make sure you record that mass. And then after you put that on the digital scale, you're going to add between 3 to 4 grams of your Epsom salts. Once you have recorded the mass of the empty dry crucible, and you've recorded the mass of exactly how many Epsom salts are inside of your crucible, you are ready to begin. Simply lift the crucible with your tongs and place it over the top of the crucible triangle, gently. You will need to fire this for at least 10 minutes. If you have the time, go ahead and fire it for 15 minutes. When it is done, you are going to need to place this down back onto the lab desk. Please, please, please don't put it on the blue trays. It will melt a hole into them. So please place it here and wait for it to cool down. If you want to check to see whether or not it's cool, use the back of your hand over the top. And if you can feel any heat radiating off the top of this, you will need to allow it to cool down for a longer period of time. Don't ever place anything hot on a digital scale. It will break the digital scale, so be patient. Now that you are done with the lab, you can simply leave all of your materials where you found it. You do not need to empty out the crucible. You can leave your dry material in there because it's very easy to clean at the end of the lab. All right, you guys, stay safe, and I hope you enjoyed the video.